I need to get this out because I'm sitting here in our hotel bathroom in Maui and I can't process what I just heard. We're supposed to be celebrating our 5th anniversary. I spent $8,000 I honestly don't have on this trip because Lauren kept talking about how we needed to reconnect and how romantic Hawaii would be. The backstory matters here. Lauren and I met in college and got married 3 years later. She's always been the type who needs constant validation and attention. I work in IT support and make decent money, but she's always made comments about my job being boring or how her trainer Andrew makes better money doing what he loves. Andrew runs some fitness program and she started training with him 6 months ago. I noticed changes immediately. She started talking about Andrew constantly, how motivating he was, how he really understood goal setting, how he had such an entrepreneurial mindset compared to people stuck in corporate jobs. When I pointed out she was talking about him a lot, she got defensive and said I was being insecure and that she was just trying to better herself. Then came the phone calls. She'd step outside to take them, saying it was about workout schedules or nutrition plans. She started going to his gym more frequently, sometimes for 2-hour sessions. When I suggested we work out together, she said I wouldn't understand her specific training needs and that I'd just slow her down. The Hawaii trip was my idea to fix things. I put it on credit cards and dipped into my emergency fund because she kept saying we never did anything exciting anymore and that successful couples invest in experiences together. She seemed genuinely excited and posted about it constantly. Look at us being spontaneous. Look at this romantic getaway, #blessed, #anniversary goals. But something felt off from the moment we got here. She's been glued to her phone more than usual, always angling away from me when she's texting. Yesterday at dinner, she kept checking her messages, and when I asked who was so important, she said it was just her sister Bryn asking about the trip. This morning, I got up early to grab coffee from the lobby, and when I came back, she was on the balcony on FaceTime. I was about to go out and join her when I heard my name, so I stopped just inside the sliding door where she couldn't see me. She was talking to someone about how this pathetic loser actually believes we're rekindling romance, and how I spent $8,000 I don't have while she's been sexting Andrew from the beach. The person on the other end was laughing and saying, use his credit cards, max them out. Then Lauren continued talking about how she's already posted all the sunset photos and everyone thinks we're so happy, but meanwhile, she can't stand my touch, my smell, or my existence. She called me repulsive. The other person, who I'm pretty sure was her friend Reagan based on the voice, said something about draining me and then dumping me for someone who can actually perform. They were both laughing about it. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes listening to them plan out how she's going to milk this trip for social media content while building her case for why our marriage failed. Apparently, I'm going to be the boring husband who couldn't keep up with her growth and personal development. She's already been telling people that I don't support her fitness journey and that I get jealous of her success. The worst part is hearing how long this has been planned. This isn't some recent thing with Andrew. She's been setting this up for months, using our marriage as a funding source while she builds her exit strategy. Every time I tried to address problems in our relationship, she'd turn it around on me for being insecure or unsupportive. Right now, she thinks I'm in the shower, but I'm sitting on the bathroom floor trying to figure out what to do. We have 3 more days here and then a 6-hour flight home together. She has no idea I know anything. The thing is, I'm not even shocked. Part of me has known something was wrong for months, but every time I brought up concerns, she'd make me feel like the problem was my paranoia or my inability to trust her. She's been gaslighting me into thinking I was imagining things while actively planning to destroy our marriage. I keep thinking about all the times she'd come home from training sessions with Andrew and immediately want to shower. How she started sleeping on her side of the bed facing away from me. How she stopped initiating any physical contact and would barely tolerate mine. How she'd get irritated when I'd try to plan date nights or suggest activities for us to do together. She's been emotionally checked out of this marriage for months while making me feel like I was failing as a husband for noticing the distance. And now I know she's been sharing intimate details of our problems with Reagan, probably getting validation for seeing me as the obstacle to her happiness. The financial part hits different, though. $8,000 might not sound like much to some people, but it's significant for us. I've been eating lunch at my desk and skipping social events to save money. I canceled my gym membership and stopped buying coffee out. I've been optimizing our budget for months to afford this trip because she said our marriage needed the investment. Meanwhile, she's been planning to leave me and apparently sees my financial sacrifice as something to exploit rather than appreciate. She's not just cheating emotionally and probably physically with Andrew. She's been manipulating me into funding my own humiliation. What really gets me is how calculated this all is. She's not some wife who fell into an affair and feels guilty about it. She's been systematically preparing for this while making me believe we were working on our relationship. Every conversation we've had about our problems has been her gathering ammunition for her narrative about why she had to leave. I'm trying to figure out if I should confront her now or wait until we get home. Part of me wants to pack my stuff and leave her here, but we're on a remote part of Maui, and logistics would be complicated. Another part of me wants to record her next conversation with Reagan or Andrew as evidence of what's really been happening. The hardest part is that I still have to pretend everything is normal for the next few days. Tonight, we have dinner reservations at this expensive restaurant she specifically requested. Tomorrow, we're supposed to do a couples massage she booked. She's probably planning to document it all for social media, while internally counting down the hours until she can get home to Andrew. I've been in the bathroom for 20 minutes now, and she's going to start wondering what I'm doing. But I can't go out there and pretend to be the loving husband when I know she's actively disgusted by me. I can't smile for her photos knowing she's using them as props for her deception. This isn't just about the affair anymore. It's about the level of manipulation and planning that went into making me complicit in my own betrayal. She's been using my love for our marriage to fund her exit from it. I need to get out of this bathroom and figure out how to survive the next 3 days without losing my mind or doing something I'll regret. But right now, I'm just sitting here realizing that my marriage has been over for months, and I was the only one who didn't know it. Update will follow once I figure out what the hell I'm going to do next. Update 1. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading your responses helped me realize I wasn't losing my mind, and that what I overheard was as bad as I thought. Some of you suggested I gather more information before confronting her, and holy hell, was that good advice? After I posted yesterday, I spent the rest of the day pretending everything was normal while internally planning my next moves. We went to that expensive dinner I mentioned, and watching Lauren pose for photos and post about our romantic anniversary while knowing what she really thinks about me was surreal. She kept talking about how perfect everything was, and how we should do trips like this more often. The whole time I'm thinking about her calling me repulsive and pathetic to Reagan just hours earlier. But here's where it gets interesting. When we got back to the room, Lauren said she needed to call her sister Bryn to check on some family drama back home. She went out to the balcony again, and this time I was ready. I used my phone to record through the sliding door, and what I heard made the first conversation sound tame. This time she was talking directly to Andrew. I could hear his voice clearly through her phone speaker because she had the volume up. They were planning their first official date for when we get back. He was asking about her timeline for leaving me, and whether she thought I suspected anything. Lauren told him I was completely clueless, and that she could probably string this along for another few months to maximize what she could get out of the divorce. The financial discussion was detailed and calculated. She's been researching how to claim alimony based on the lifestyle I've provided during our marriage. Andrew was coaching her on documenting my income and our joint assets. They talked about how the Hawaii trip actually works in her favor because it shows the standard of living she's accustomed to. Every romantic gesture I've made is apparently evidence for her divorce case. But the part that really got me was when Andrew asked about our physical relationship. Lauren laughed and said she's been avoiding intimacy for months and that I'm so desperate for her attention that I just accept whatever scraps she gives me. She told him how I try to initiate physical contact and she just tolerates it long enough to keep me from getting suspicious. Andrew made some comment about how she won't have to fake anything with him, and they both found that hilarious. They also discussed Reagan's role in all this. Apparently, Reagan has been documenting our marriage problems from Lauren's perspective, creating a timeline of my supposed emotional neglect and lack of support for Lauren's personal growth. Reagan's been helping Lauren build a narrative where I'm the controlling husband who holds her back from pursuing her fitness goals and social connections. The recording is about 20 minutes long, and it's damning. They discuss specific strategies for making me look bad, ways to hide her relationship with Andrew until after she files for divorce, and how to maximize her financial outcome. This isn't a woman who fell into an affair and feels guilty. This is someone executing a calculated plan to destroy my life while making me pay for the privilege. After she finished the call and came back inside, I told her I was feeling sick and might have food poisoning. She seemed annoyed that this might interfere with tomorrow's plans, but said she'd check on me in the morning. The concern was clearly about her itinerary, not my well-being. I spent most of last night going through her phone while she slept. I know her passcode because we've always shared them, back when I thought we had a trusting relationship. The text threads with Andrew and Reagan are extensive and go back 4 months. Lauren has been sharing intimate details about our relationship, our finances, our sex life, and my personal insecurities with both of them. The Andrew messages are particularly brutal. She's been sending him photos from our vacation, but with commentary about how forced and fake everything is. Pictures of me at dinner with captions about how boring I am. Photos of our hotel room with complaints about having to share a bed with me. She even sent him a picture of the flowers I bought her at the airport with a message about how pathetic my romantic gestures are. The Reagan messages show a different side of the planning. Reagan has been researching divorce attorneys and feeding Lauren questions to ask them. They've discussed the best timing for filing, how to establish residency if Lauren wants to move in with Andrew, and strategies for claiming that I've been financially controlling despite the fact that I've been funding her gym membership, personal training sessions, and this entire vacation. But here's what really shows how deep this goes. Lauren has been screenshotting our text conversations and sending them to both Andrew and Reagan for analysis. Every time I've tried to address problems in our relationship or suggest we work on things together, she's been sharing my messages and they've been crafting her responses. When I thought we were having honest conversations about our marriage, I was actually communicating with a committee designed to manipulate me. This morning, I finally confronted her. I waited until she was settled on the balcony with her coffee, then walked out and sat down across from her. I told her I needed to discuss something important about our relationship and that I'd learned some things that concerned me. Lauren immediately went into defensive mode. She asked what I was talking about and whether this was another one of my insecurity episodes. When I mentioned that I knew about Andrew, her face changed completely. The sweet vacation persona disappeared, and I saw who she really is underneath. She tried to deny it at first, claiming Andrew was just her trainer and that I was being paranoid again. When I mentioned specific details from their conversations, she switched tactics and started attacking me. According to Lauren, I drove her to seek attention elsewhere because I'm emotionally unavailable and don't support her personal growth. She said Andrew understands her in ways I never could, and that he encourages her ambitions instead of holding her back. I asked her about the financial planning and the divorce timeline. Lauren didn't deny it, but justified it by saying she has to protect herself because I've been controlling our money and limiting her opportunities. This was news to me, considering I've been funding her lifestyle and putting this vacation on credit cards because she wanted to work on our marriage. The conversation lasted over 2 hours, and Lauren never once showed remorse or acknowledged that her behavior was wrong. Every accusation I made was met with counter-accusations about my failings as a husband. According to her version of events, she's the victim of an emotionally neglectful marriage and Andrew is simply someone who appreciates her worth. When I played parts of the recording from last night, Lauren exploded. She accused me of violating her privacy and being exactly the controlling, paranoid husband she'd been telling everyone about. She said the recording proved that I don't trust her, and that our marriage was already over anyway. The irony of being called untrustworthy by someone who's been systematically deceiving me for months wasn't lost on me. Lauren then made it clear that she's not backing down from her plans. She told me she's been unhappy for over a year, and that meeting Andrew just showed her what a real relationship could look like. She's moving forward with the divorce whether I like it or not, and she expects me to be reasonable about the financial arrangements since I'm the one who destroyed our marriage with my jealousy and control issues. Right now, we're in separate parts of the hotel room, and the tension is thick. We still have 2 more days here, and Lauren seems to think we should continue with our vacation plans because the trip is already paid for. She's acting like our marriage ending is a mutual decision and that we should handle this maturely. The most infuriating part is how she's already rewriting history. In her mind, she's not cheating or betraying me. She's a woman who finally found the courage to leave an unfulfilling marriage. Andrew isn't her affair partner, he's her supportive friend who helped her realize her worth. The financial planning isn't manipulation. It's protecting herself from a controlling husband. I'm sitting here looking at plane tickets to fly home early, but part of me wants to stay and see how far she'll take this charade. Does she really think we're going to finish this vacation like nothing happened? Is she planning to continue the social media posts about our perfect anniversary? What's clear is that Lauren has no intention of fighting for our marriage or acknowledging what she's done wrong. In her mind, I'm the problem and she's the solution, is leaving me for someone better. The woman I married either never existed or disappeared so gradually that I didn't notice when she was replaced by this calculating stranger. Tomorrow, we're supposed to do that couples massage she booked. I'm genuinely curious whether she still expects me to go through with it. We'll update again once I figure out how to handle the next 48 hours with someone who apparently finds my existence repulsive but still wants me to fund her exit strategy. Update 2. The comments on my last update were incredibly helpful, especially those pointing out that Lauren was still treating me like her personal ATM while planning her exit. Several of you mentioned that I needed to protect myself financially before she could execute more of her plan. You were absolutely right. Yesterday morning started with Lauren acting like nothing had changed. She woke up talking about our massage appointment and asking if I wanted to grab breakfast before our snorkeling tour. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. Here's someone who admitted She finds me repulsive and is planning to divorce me, but she still expected me to go through with our romantic itinerary like a well-trained puppet. I told her I needed to handle some work emergencies and wouldn't be able to do the activities. Lauren immediately got irritated and said I was ruining our vacation because of my job again. The irony of her complaining about me working when she's been planning to claim I don't provide enough financially wasn't lost on me. While she went to the spa alone, I spent 3 hours on the phone with my bank and credit card companies. I froze our joint accounts pending what I called a security review. I removed Lauren as an authorized user on my personal credit cards. I also called our travel insurance company and discovered that Lauren had upgraded our policy 2 weeks before the trip, adding coverage for trip cancellation due to relationship issues. Even our insurance was part of her exit strategy. When Lauren got back from her massage, she was in a great mood and wanted to show me photos she'd taken for her social media. She'd captioned them about taking time for self-care during our romantic getaway. Watching her maintain this performance while knowing what she really thinks was surreal. That evening, we had dinner reservations at the resort's signature restaurant. Lauren spent the entire meal talking about how refreshed she felt and how we should definitely plan more trips like this. She ordered the most expensive items on the menu and asked the server to take multiple photos of us together. The whole time I'm wondering if she's planning to use these images in her divorce proceedings as evidence of the lifestyle she's accustomed to. After dinner, Lauren wanted to walk on the beach and talk about our future together. This is where things got interesting. She started discussing plans for when we get home, mentioning how she wants to redecorate our living room, maybe look into getting a bigger place. She talked about possibly switching careers and pursuing her fitness certification full-time, with me supporting her transition. I realized she was testing whether I suspected anything or if her confrontation strategy had worked. Lauren was trying to determine if she could continue her original timeline or if she needed to accelerate her plans. The woman who'd told Andrew she couldn't stand my existence was now snuggled up against me talking about our shared future. I decided to test her right back. I mentioned that I'd been thinking about our conversation yesterday and that maybe she was right about some things. I said I wanted to support her goals more and asked what kind of timeline she had in mind for her career change. Lauren's eyes lit up, and she started talking about potentially quitting her current job within the next few months. Then I asked about her training with Andrew and whether she thought I should meet him since he's been such a positive influence on her. Lauren's demeanor shifted immediately. She said Andrew was very private and didn't really socialize with clients' family members. When I suggested we could all grab dinner sometime, she said that would be inappropriate and that Andrew maintained strict professional boundaries. The contradiction was glaring. This man who she's planning a future with supposedly maintains such strict boundaries that meeting her husband would be inappropriate. Lauren was getting flustered trying to maintain her story while not revealing her plans. That's when I mentioned the phone calls I'd made during the day. I told Lauren I'd been thinking about our financial planning and had made some adjustments to our accounts for security purposes. Her casual interest turned to focused attention real quick. When I explained that I'd temporarily frozen access pending a review of our financial strategy, Lauren went cold. She asked what kind of review and why I hadn't discussed it with her first. I explained that I wanted to make sure we were protected in case of any unexpected changes in our relationship status. Lauren demanded to know what I meant by that and why I was making unilateral financial decisions. This led to another long conversation, but this time Lauren wasn't in control of the narrative. She tried to frame my actions as more evidence of financial control and manipulation. According to her, freezing our accounts proved that I was exactly the controlling husband she'd been dealing with. She demanded I reverse the holds immediately. I told Lauren that as someone planning to divorce me, she should understand why I might want to protect assets that I'd worked to build. Her face went white when I said that. She tried to deny that divorce was definite and claimed she was just exploring her options because our marriage had problems. Lauren then shifted tactics and started talking about how we could work through our issues if I was willing to address my controlling behavior and trust issues. She said the account holds were exactly the kind of financial manipulation that made her feel trapped in our marriage. According to Lauren, my actions were forcing her hand toward divorce when she'd been hoping we could reconcile. The gaslighting was incredible. The woman who'd been planning her exit strategy for months was now claiming that my protecting myself financially was what might drive her to leave. She kept emphasizing that marriages require trust and that my suspicious behavior was creating the very problems I was worried about. But here's where Lauren made a critical mistake. She got too comfortable in her manipulation and started giving me specific suggestions for how to fix our relationship. She said I needed to restore account access immediately as a gesture of good faith. She wanted me to apologize for violating her privacy with the recordings. Most importantly, she said I needed to stop being jealous of her friendship with Andrew and support her fitness journey without question. Essentially, Lauren wanted me to give her complete financial access, ignore her affair, and fund her transition into Andrew's arms while pretending to believe we were working on our marriage. She was asking me to be complicit in my own destruction while she executed her plan. I told Lauren I'd consider her suggestions, but needed time to think about the best path forward. She seemed satisfied with that response and suggested we spend our last day in Hawaii focusing on enjoying each other's company. Lauren wanted to end the trip on a positive note and deal with our issues once we got home. This morning, Lauren was back to posting about our perfect anniversary getaway. She shared photos from yesterday's spa day and dinner, captioned with gratitude for quality time together and excitement about our future. Her Instagram stories show a woman deeply in love with her husband and grateful for the romantic gesture of this expensive vacation. The disconnect between her public narrative and private reality is staggering. Lauren has created an entire fictional version of our relationship for social media while actively planning its destruction behind the scenes. She's using my financial sacrifice to fund content that supports her image as a devoted wife. But here's what she doesn't know yet. This morning, while she was posting her fake happiness, I got a call from my credit card company. Apparently, Lauren tried to use one of the cards I'd removed her from late last night. She attempted to book something that was declined, and they called to verify whether it was fraudulent activity. Lauren also doesn't know that I've been forwarding all of her communications with Andrew and Reagan to a private email account. I've got months of evidence showing the premeditation and planning behind her affair and divorce strategy. The woman who's been accusing me of being controlling and paranoid has created a paper trail of her own manipulation. Right now, Lauren thinks she's back in control of the situation. She believes I'm considering her suggestions and that she can continue her original timeline. She's planning to spend our last day creating more social media content while secretly coordinating with Andrew for when we get home. What Lauren doesn't realize is that her attempts to maintain her cover story while demanding I restore financial access have revealed just how calculated this all is. She's not a woman who fell into an affair and feels conflicted. She's someone executing a detailed plan who got frustrated when I introduced obstacles. We fly home tomorrow, and I'm curious to see how long Lauren maintains her loving wife performance once she realizes the financial landscape has changed. Part of me wonders if she'll accelerate her timeline or try even harder to manipulate me back into compliance. The woman who found my existence repulsive 3 days ago is currently napping next to me while planning our evening activities. In a few hours, she'll probably want to take more photos for social media and talk about how wonderful this trip has been for our relationship. The final update will cover what happens when we get home and Lauren discovers that the financial foundation for her exit strategy isn't as solid as she thought. Final update. This is going to be my final update on this situation. And honestly, I'm writing this more for closure than anything else. The past week since we got back from Hawaii has been a masterclass in watching someone's carefully constructed plans fall apart when they realize their victim isn't going to cooperate. The flight home was Lauren's last performance as the loving wife. She spent 6 hours talking about how refreshed she felt and how the trip had really helped her perspective on our marriage. She made plans for us to have dinner with her parents this weekend and mentioned wanting to start couples counseling to work through our communication issues. The whole time she was texting, and I knew exactly who she was coordinating with. When we got home Sunday night, Lauren immediately went into domestic mode. She unpacked both our suitcases, started a load of laundry, and began talking about meal prep for the week. She was performing the role of the devoted wife while probably texting Andrew about when they could meet up. The cognitive dissonance was staggering to watch. Monday morning brought the first crack in her facade. Lauren tried to use our joint account to pay for groceries, and the card was declined. She called me at work asking if there was a problem with our banking, and I reminded her about the security review I'd mentioned in Hawaii. Lauren's tone shifted immediately when she realized the holds were still in place. That evening, we had our most honest conversation yet. Though Lauren didn't intend it to be honest, she started by asking for specific timelines on when account access would be restored. When I explained that I was still reviewing our financial situation, Lauren accused me of punishing her for the argument we'd had in Hawaii. According to her, I was being vindictive and controlling by limiting her access to money. I told Lauren that as someone who'd been planning to divorce me for months, she should understand why I might want to ensure our assets were properly protected during this transitional period. Her face went completely white when I said that. She tried to claim that divorce was never definite and that she'd only been considering it because of my recent behavior. This is where Lauren made her biggest mistake. She got desperate and started revealing information she hadn't meant to share. Lauren told me that she'd already scheduled consultations with 3 different divorce attorneys for later this week. She said she needed to understand her options because my financial control was making her feel trapped and scared for her security. When I pointed out that scheduling multiple attorney consultations suggested this wasn't a recent consideration, Lauren switched tactics again. She claimed that my suspicious behavior over the past few months had forced her to protect herself. According to Lauren, I'd been increasingly controlling and paranoid, and she'd started researching her legal options as a safety measure. The gaslighting was incredible, but I was prepared for it. I asked Lauren to explain the timeline of when my behavior became concerning, and she started creating a narrative on the spot. Apparently, I'd been isolating her from friends, questioning her activities, and making financial decisions without consulting her. She claimed my jealousy about Andrew was just the latest example of my controlling nature. That's when I played the recordings from Hawaii, not just the ones of her talking to Andrew, but also her conversation with Reagan about documenting my supposed emotional neglect and building a case for divorce. Lauren listened to her own voice describing how repulsive she found me and how she'd been manipulating our financial situation to maximize her divorce settlement. The mask came off completely. Lauren didn't deny the content of the recordings, but instead attacked me for violating her privacy and recording private conversations. She said the recordings proved exactly what kind of controlling and manipulative person I really was. According to Lauren, secretly recording her was probably illegal and definitely showed that our marriage was beyond repair. But here's where it got interesting. Lauren then tried to negotiate with me. She offered to put the divorce on hold and try marriage counseling if I would restore her financial access and delete the recordings. She said we could work through our issues if I was willing to address my trust and control problems. Lauren wanted me to pretend the recordings didn't exist and fund her continued affair while she decided whether to stay or leave. I told Lauren that someone who found me repulsive and was planning to leave anyway probably shouldn't be concerned about our joint finances. She exploded at that point and told me she'd been trying to save our marriage despite my impossible behavior. According to Lauren, she'd been working with Andrew to become a better version of herself, and my jealousy was destroying her progress. The next few days were Lauren cycling through different strategies. She tried guilt, claiming I was destroying 5 years of marriage over a misunderstanding. She tried anger, accusing me of being exactly the controlling husband she'd been telling everyone about. She tried bargaining, offering to cut contact with Andrew if I restored account access. She even tried seduction, suddenly wanting physical intimacy for the first time in months. What Lauren couldn't accept was that I wasn't negotiating. I wasn't trying to save our marriage or win her back. I was protecting myself from someone who'd been systematically planning to destroy my life while making me fund the process. The woman who'd called me pathetic and repulsive was now demanding I give her money and trust while she decided my fate. Thursday morning, Lauren played her final card. She told me she was staying at Reagan's house until I came to my senses and started acting like a reasonable adult. According to Lauren, my behavior since Hawaii proved that our marriage was toxic and that she needed space to determine her next steps. She packed 2 suitcases I'd left, but not before demanding I transfer money to her personal account for her immediate expenses. The irony was perfect. Lauren was leaving me while demanding I fund her departure. She wanted me to bankroll her transition into Andrew's arms while she figured out the optimal timing for divorce proceedings. Even in leaving, she expected me to be complicit in my own destruction. What Lauren didn't know was that I'd spent the week preparing for exactly this scenario. I'd consulted with my own divorce attorney and documented everything. The months of evidence showing premeditation and planning, the recordings of her admitting to manipulation, and the timeline of her affair were all organized and ready. I also discovered some interesting information about Andrew through basic online research. His fitness business has been struggling financially for over a year. He's behind on rent for his gym space and has had multiple clients complain about billing irregularities. Lauren isn't just leaving me for someone who appreciates her worth. She's leaving for someone who probably sees her as a financial solution to his problems. Yesterday, I got a series of increasingly frantic texts from Lauren. Apparently, Andrew had suggested she move in with him. But when she mentioned needing financial support during the divorce process, he became much less enthusiastic about their timeline. Lauren wanted to know when I was going to stop being childish and restore her access to our accounts. The texts revealed everything I needed to know about Lauren's actual situation. She'd burned her bridge with me, but her new relationship wasn't providing the financial security she'd counted on. Reagan was getting tired of hosting someone who couldn't contribute to household expenses. Lauren was discovering that her exit strategy had some significant gaps. This morning, Lauren showed up at our house wanting to have a mature conversation about dividing our assets fairly. She said she'd been doing a lot of thinking and realized we both had valid concerns that needed to be addressed. Lauren wanted to discuss a reasonable timeline for separation that would allow both of us to maintain our standard of living during the transition. I told Lauren that someone who'd spent months planning to leave while calling me repulsive probably shouldn't be concerned about maintaining our shared standard of living. She tried one more time to reframe the situation as a mutual decision made by two adults who'd grown apart, but I wasn't buying it. Lauren finally asked what it would take for me to be reasonable about this situation. I told her that reasonable people don't secretly plan to destroy their marriages while making their spouses fund the process. Reasonable people don't manipulate their partners into paying for vacations while using those same vacations as evidence for divorce proceedings. The conversation ended with Lauren telling me I was going to regret being so vindictive and that I had no idea how difficult she could make the divorce process. She said she'd been trying to handle this maturely, but my behavior was forcing her to protect herself through legal means. Lauren threatened to claim financial abuse and emotional manipulation if I didn't start cooperating with her reasonable requests. Right now, Lauren is discovering that the financial foundation for her new life isn't as solid as she'd planned. Andrew's enthusiasm for their relationship seems directly tied to her ability to contribute financially, and that ability is currently limited. Reagan is getting tired of housing someone who expected to be financially independent by now. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the house we shared, surrounded by evidence of the life Lauren was so eager to abandon. The expensive vacation photos are still on her social media, showing the world how happy we were just last week. Her followers are commenting about how lucky she is to have such a romantic husband, and how they hope to find love like ours someday. The woman who found my existence repulsive is now trying to figure out how to survive without the financial support she spent months planning to exploit. Her carefully orchestrated exit strategy is falling apart because she underestimated both my willingness to protect myself and Andrew's actual commitment to supporting her transition. I'm not celebrating Lauren's difficulties or hoping she suffers. I'm just refusing to be the solution to problems she created through her own calculated betrayal. She made her choices based on what she thought would make her happiest, and now she gets to live with the consequences of those choices. The marriage is over, but on my terms now, not according to her timeline and strategy. Lauren wanted to control the narrative and the financial outcome, but that was only possible as long as I remained ignorant and compliant. Once I stopped being her willing victim, her entire plan fell apart. For anyone dealing with similar situations, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone convince you that protecting yourself is controlling behavior. And remember that people who are planning to betray you will often accuse you of exactly what they're doing to deflect attention from their own actions. This has been the most difficult but educational experience of my adult life. Time to move forward without someone who saw me as an obstacle to her happiness rather than a partner in building it.